Hey, Jillian,
Hello?
can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Jonah.
Awesome. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic. It's so great to be meeting you,
Yeah,
somewhat in person. Thank you
exactly.
so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where are you in the world right now?
I am in Barrington, Rhode Island. It's awesome, I guess, being in my household with my family.
You
It's
sound,
great. Oh
you
boy.
sound so excited.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's definitely, not college, it's not gap year, but it's good.
You're preaching to the choir. You're speaking for all of us.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I've never had the chance to go out to that far east, but I've heard so many beautiful things about Rhode Island.
Yeah, I love it. I do. I really it's been nice to reconnect with my hometown, and it's pretty. Ocean State, all the good things. Oh boy.
Yes, an ocean state.
Yeah.
I mean, so what is going on now with school? I know that a lot of schools are in different positions and different things are happening. So what is your plan right now? What's going on?
Yes, so UPenn just released that they will have a remote fall. Right now, I'd still like to be taking classes. I don't want to be 30 walking on campus for the first time, but I would, I'm going to be taking classes online. Not exactly sure where in the world yet, but not
Okay.
in Philly, unfortunately.
Okay. So not even from Rhode Island. Where do you think you'd go?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe Barrington, maybe. We'll see. I'm reaching out to different friends and family, seeing if anyone wants a 19-year-old roommate. It's not really what people want, but trying. We'll see. Um,
All right. All right.
yeah,
Well, I mean, that's probably a really good idea though on UPenn's part to
yeah, absolutely,
not
totally.
open. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's a few schools that have tried to open now. I know my school is attempting to open next week, and I have no idea how it's going to go for them. I'm not going to be a part of it, but
Yeah.
um,
So.
I would say though, I mean, one semester won't obviously put you on campus until you're 30. I
Yeah.
think one semester is okay.
I think I'm okay too. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. We'll
I
see.
I've actually took three. My gap year was actually 3 years that I took
Wow.
off. So yeah, I mean, it waits for you. College does wait for you.
Yeah,
Um,
I absolutely agree. Untraditional path, I support it totally.
Absolutely. Although, what I will say, as optimistic as I am, it is a little frustrating to still be on campus at 23.
Yeah,
It is a little frustrating, but uh, I'm getting there
yeah,
slowly but surely.
totally.
So, so I'm guessing your gap time, because you're fresh off of it. So I'm guessing it ended because of COVID. Did you have to come home or were you already home when everything struck?
I had to come home, unfortunately. Yeah, it was definitely a little disappointing considering, as you know, with gap years, it's such a high and you feel so independent and I guess mobile. And then to be stuck here wasn't expected, but I definitely, with the gap year mindset of when plans don't go as you'd hope, what do you do? How do you be flexible?
Yeah.
Taking that and now finding awesome things to do in Rhode Island. And
Yeah.
that's
So
all.
what did you do when you got back home and you were, that we all had to be quarantined? What was what were you doing?
Well, I took time to educate myself on a lot of social issues that I otherwise was not aware of or should have been more aware
Yeah.
of. And then I took up running. I actually signed up for a half marathon, something totally outside of my comfort zone.
Nice.
Yeah, right. I'm jazzed, a little nervous.
You're speaking to a runner here. How far
Oh,
away is it?
oh gosh, no, I still have a
Your
couple
run.
of months. I
Okay.
definitely gave myself, yeah, I had a 10-mile run. That was a lot, and I really liked it. But
how long have you been running now? You said you just started, or how?
It's been a couple of months. So
you already hit a 10-mile run?
So slow, so slow. But yeah, I did that. I've been working a little bit, socially distanced, and redecorating my room, finding cool projects, knitting, all of the fun things. And it's been
That's
good.
Very cool. So everybody takes gap years for different reasons. What made you want to take yours? Was it always a plan, or was it like, oh, I'm 2 weeks away from going to school and I'm going to decide now that I'm going to take one? What was that like for you?
It's the idea of a gap year kind of always was lurking in the back of my mind. My brother is 2 years older than me, and he ended up going straight to college, but it was an idea that he humored. By the end of my high school career, I definitely felt burnt out and really lost my intellectual curiosity. And so then Penn came, and I was really excited, and I, chose my school. And then I was like, I want to defer a year, and I'm excited about these opportunities to travel and to work, to explore, do all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you hear about a gap year then, or how did your brother even hear about it? How did it come on your guys' radar?
Yeah, good question. I had, as a junior, I attended a semester school, the mountain school.
Okay.
And sort of that network of alumni was, have always been very untraditional, and I had a lot of friends who were considering it as well. I also think the Obama daughter did a gap year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she did, yeah.
So it definitely had started to normalize a little bit, and instead of my parents' sort of generation of, why are you taking time off? What's wrong? What's going on? That classic issue. So, yeah.
So I guess going off of that, then, were they supportive? Were your parents, your friends, your family, were they supportive of it, or were they trepidatious about it?
They have been unbelievable. I don't think I would have been able to do everything that I did without the support of my parents. They have been amazing, seriously amazing, and I couldn't be happier with that. And my brother's a little jealous, I think. He's looking back like as a senior now and just, I should have taken time off. But
well, do you know what made him choose not to go down that route and go right to college?
That's a good question. I don't know if I fully know the answer to that. I do think it's a risky move. It feels, I remember submitting that email to UPenn saying, oh, nope, I want class of 2024, please. It's definitely intimidating. So I don't know.
It is, because I think, everything is, what you're going to get when you go to college to some degree. You know that you're going to get, classes and football games and, parties and all that. And you have no idea what you're going to get when you decide not to go.
Totally.
So it's completely open. That's very cool. So what was that process like with UPenn? Was it an easy process? I know that it seems like, I've talked to actually quite a bit of students who went to UPenn who took gap year. So it seems like it seems like they're really accepting of it. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, obviously they wanted to see that I was taking it seriously, and had some sort of plan in the works, but it was very easy. And now, coming back into that community, or entering it for the first time, I guess, everyone who I've talked to about it has been really happy for me, and is just trying to make the transition as smooth as possible. So
yeah, the things that you said, getting to your actual gap year was that you were hoping to gain clarity about life and school on your gap year, and you don't feel like you did, at least to the extent that you were hoping. So when it came to your itinerary, did you choose to do those things because you thought that they would help you gain that sense of clarity, or did you just, or was it just completely random? How did you decide to do those things? I know you went on a road trip, did some woofing, homestay in Spain.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I did to an extent. I chose things that interest me currently. With the homestay, I really am excited about the Spanish language. I personally am dyslexic and have some language processing issues. If you haven't noticed in this interview, I totally stumble. So I think finding an opportunity to explore that passion in a setting that I could really push myself and also not be concerned about being assessed or, graded was very important. I'm also super passionate about sustainability and knowing where my food comes from. And so woofing was a very hands-on sort of experience with that. So yeah, I think so, a little bit.
So you're talking to a sustainability major, just so you're
aware. Oh my goodness.
So,
okay, yeah.
Totally get it. Although we're gonna get to the woofing because
okay.
we're gonna get to that in a little bit. There's so many questions about the woofing, but how did you stumble across? Because I know you used WOOF or CIEE. How did you come across those specific organizations though? Was it just, I know I want to do a homestay, so I Google that, or homestay in Spain, or work on organic farms, or had you heard about those things beforehand?
Yes. So CIEE specifically, I wanted some hand-holding in the beginning of the year. I was a little concerned about going off by myself.
Yeah.
I had a couple friends who had done CIEE. My close family friend is a dean of a university, and she uses it to connect her students with opportunities. So that was on my radar. Woofing was more of just a research thing, and talking to like-minded people about how do I get involved? What's the easiest way to get to these places and get my hands dirty? So,
yeah. Okay. So for those who don't know, I know you obviously you don't work for CIEE, but can you give like a brief description of what they exactly do and what they offer?
Totally. CIEE is a study abroad cultural exchange program. What they did for me is connect me with my host family and then the school called Click, which is also amazing, where I took language courses. And yeah.
Okay, so they kind of offer, they're kind of like, is it just primarily language then that they offer, or is it kind of like a wider scope?
Well, not always language, for sure. I think they have some service-based programs. They have some language-based programs like immersion, things like I did. They do, I believe, national programs, international programs. They cover it kind of all a little bit. Yeah.
So you said that obviously you picked them because you wanted kind of like a hand holding. To what extent were they, metaphorically holding your hand? I mean, how involved in the process were they? From like getting to Spain, pre-departure, getting to Spain, spending time in Spain, coming back, how involved were they?
They not too much, not overbearing. I definitely had that initial sense of I am independent. I can do my own travel. I have this European visa. But in terms of the tricksy travel coordination, all of the things that I think would have been more difficult with finding a family and finding a school and getting myself signed up, they covered for me, and also provided some in the city abroad when you're so far away from your family, hi, do you need help? Are you okay? That sort of role, which I appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially if you've never, it's your first time doing something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
It's really helpful to have. So how long were you on that program for in Spain?
3-4 months. That was most of my fall. And yeah, really awesome, amazing, yeah.
And you said you had Spanish exposure to the Spanish language beforehand, or no?
Yes, a little.
Okay.
I know some of my friends went in kind of as the lay person, I guess. And then I had friends who were almost fluent. And I
Wow.
fell somewhere in between. And so they provide all sort of homes and classes for all the levels, which was really helpful.
Yeah, that does sound very helpful. So I don't really talk to very many people who do like the homestay cultural immersion. But I know a lot of people tend to be interested in it as a gap year option. So can you just take us through what your day-to-day was?
Absolutely. So I was with the host family. I would wake up in their home, have breakfast with them, try my best to, have conversation. And then in the mornings, I'd have a couple hours of classes, and then I would go and explore the city during my afternoons. And I would take trips on the weekends and on different weeks. That was pretty much what it looked like. Yeah.
Did your host family speak English to you at all? Or were they trying to keep it?
I tried to challenge myself, so I tried to be mostly in Spanish with them. Yeah. Fortunately, the father knew some English. The son was 20, 21, still at home taking classes at the local university. And he was trying to go to America for the summer. It fell through. But that was an interesting relationship of us both trying to practice.
Yeah.
So, but mostly Spanish for the rest of the family.
Wow. Okay. All right. And I'm sure that was pretty nerve-wracking at times.
Totally. Definitely felt like such a mess, because you see how I speak English. I am not by any means a communicator.
So what's your mindset going into that? Like, you wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, like, how are you pumping yourself up for that?
Oh, wow. That is, I don't know. A couple of jumping jacks. Tried to shower in the morning, so I'm up, awake, ready to talk. I mean, again, I love how with Spanish culture they do meals, because you sit and you're calm and you're not running out the door. And that was definitely my zone, to get people when they're enjoying their food.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Having a lot of patience.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I think the great part about meals too, at least my grandpa always says, because he's like a master chef, if the food is really great, ideally nobody will be talking anyway. So it's like a great time, especially if you can't speak the language. You just have to hope the food is really good, so that nobody's talking.
Totally.
What were the meals like?
Oh, the food was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something I miss. It was late too. The meals were, usually you don't do breakfast. You do a late lunch and an even later dinner.
Really? So it's only 2 meals a day?
Yes, pretty much. But they're big family things. They're delicious, and definitely interesting to go straight to bed after a meal, but it's good. It's good. I'll take a 10 p.m. delicious meal any day.
Yeah, over anything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it sounds like you did have a good amount of freedom. So what did you do when you'd go into town, or how far were you able to travel when you had the time to do so? Just in Spain, or did you ever leave Spain? Or
yes, I ended up all of the above. I was able to travel around Spain and see a bunch of different cities. I also got to go just to different places in Europe. actually, beyond that, went to Morocco. And just because it's all there and convenient, and being under 25 with a European visa was just financially fabulous. Just the best. And so
can you elaborate on that a bit? Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so basically anything I did when I was sightseeing, I didn't have to pay for. Any museum, any a beautiful statue-esque thing never required me to pay for a ticket. So there were just these cheap plane tickets that worked and were perfect, and then hostels are very inexpensive, and so the actual travel element was the only big expense. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So you could walk in like an FBI agent, be like, under 25,
yeah, exactly. Put it to
I'm
the
in
wall.
here for free.
Let me in.
Put that away.
Exactly.
I don't have money because I don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. No.
I have family who's actually from Morocco. I've talked to so many people who've been to Morocco. What was your experience like there? I feel kind of stupid because my sister's being homeschooled right now. And I saw a map yesterday, and I didn't realize how close Spain and Morocco are.
Yeah, me neither.
Geographically, I had no idea.
No.
But what was your experience like there? Was it just a day trip, or how long did you get to go there for?
We went for a week, a little less than a week. I went through a program that was offering these week-long trips at my school, Click.
Okay.
Yeah, which was really amazing. And I was living with people that were international as well. So it was this amazing cultural just pot of, I don't even know. I was in Morocco, but meeting these French people and with this German girl, it was awesome.
What surprised you the most about interacting with all those different people from different parts of the world? If anything did.
Yeah. I think how they view sort of this time in anyone's life, this 20 to 25, 18 to 30. I don't know what the range is, but it's definitely more relaxed and sort of makes more sense, allows you to explore all these possibilities, whether that's with travel, whether that's with saving up and staying home with your family and taking classes. It just exposed, I guess, to me how random and weird and messy the American system is a little bit with how traditional education goes.
Yeah. So they really view this time as like a time really for discovery and exploration and freedom and figuring out who you are and how you fit in the world.
Exactly. Like everyone's taking a 3-year gap year. That's what I mean?
Yeah.
And they should be. Why not?
Yeah. I'm gonna do that forever. I think my plan is just work 1 year, take a year off, work 1 year, take a year off.
Totally. No, I'm with that.
Because why not? Okay, so let's get to the woofing, because this is something that I know I've heard about so much in passing, and I think it's something that a lot of people hear. They hear the word woof, but they have no idea what it is. So can we just start by what in the heck is woof? What is it?
Absolutely. So bear with me. WOOF stands for Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms.
Okay.
And so and there's a similar site called Workaway that isn't exclusively farms, but basically with WOOF, it's a platform that connects farmers with volunteers. And so you get, as the volunteer, room and board in exchange for work on their farm. I thought it was totally cost efficient. It also was a very authentic way to see a place, because you usually end up, obviously you're living with these people, but then you get this native experience and find these secret spots that as a tourist you wouldn't.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So actually, this question I'm going to ask for Wolf, but then I also want to go back and ask about the homestay in Seville. Did you get to choose that family that you stayed with, or did CIEE choose? Was that like a partner family?
Yes, the family I had put in sort of preferences, no smoking. I told them like I'm comfortable with pets, said my age, my gender, all of those things, but it was picked for me pretty much.
Okay, so it's kind of like going to your freshman year of college when you're picking a roommate.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is what I like. This is what I don't like.
Yeah.
So is that kind of how it works then for Woof? Is it kind of like Airbnb almost, where you're, like you have to have communication with the host and you're picking a certain spot, or how much freedom do you have there?
Yeah. It have a lot of freedom. You are once you're connected, it's definitely a very big relationship that you have with this host, and you can work out your hours, how many is in your group, how long you're staying. That can all be customized. It's just sort of that initial, I'm here this time and you need somebody, like, let's meet up and let's talk about this.
Right. So are you meeting with them beforehand? Because I know that there's also like home exchanges that you can do with people. So like they come and like stay in your home and you go to wherever they are, and like you're meeting and like interviewing each other. I mean, do you have a chance to do that with Woof, or is it?
We never took that opportunity. I'm not sure if they offer that. I know that we were mostly just emailing. We had some phone calls. They do their own screening. I never got anyone who I felt actively unsafe or.
Sure. So you're saying Woof as a company does their own screening?
Yes, I believe, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely have some guidelines to keep it all peaceful.
Sure, but the transaction is still between you and the farmer?
Yes.
Okay. And so obviously, I mean, what a great opportunity to see, kind of how the process of farming works and, where food is coming from and how to properly take care of it. But obviously from the farmer's standpoint, if I'm a farmer, I'm bringing people onto my farm who really don't know necessarily how to farm. So, I mean, to what extent are they actually making you do farming work? I mean, what kind of work are you doing? Are you actually up super early and working all day? Because you're exchanging that for being able to stay in their home. So how hard are they really working you?
It definitely varies. That's a really annoying answer to that, but I think there's definitely a variety of things. I know that some farmers have an expectation that you'll stay longer so that you really hone in skills and know what you're doing. Otherwise, what I noticed and what I experienced was on average, you're probably working 3 to 4 hours a day, usually in the mornings. I picked and communicated with farmers that were, aware that I hadn't had incredible amount of experiences on farms. If that makes any sense, I wasn't offering too much and they were aware of that and expected that. But you also can provide, I know, some of my agreements was I would cook for them, or I'd watch their kids, or we'd offer something that I felt more equipped to deal with.
Sure. So it wasn't always farm work. That's interesting.
No, actually, I worked on a sort of construction flipping a house project, which was really interesting, and I was cleaning out this space to try and get it approved, and that was something that I wasn't expecting to do, but it was really interesting and cool.
Yeah.
And we found that on Workaway, and it was a great way to be in a really touristy, expensive area. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said that some farmers are, they get annoyed. They want people to be there for a certain amount of time. So is there a minimum stay requirement with Woof, or like what's like the least amount of time you could be somewhere?
With Woof, again, I think the farmer is allowed to set that minimum.
Okay, so the farmer does it. Okay.
We spent only a week in one space. Then again, that was a blueberry orchard. Incredible experience, but pretty repetitive, tedious work. That was the same thing. Once you know how to pick a blueberry bush, you kind of know what you're doing.
How does one pick a blueberry bush?
Exactly. Oh, I've already forgotten. No, it's awesome. No, it's. I will never throw out a blueberry. Let me tell you this. It
really?
is. It's definitely hard work. I don't take that for granted anymore.
What's the hardest? What's the hardest part about it?
Blueberries or your back. You're in there. You're picking them hand individually, and then you have to put them on this interesting mechanism where you get to look and find gross ones and pick them out and eat them. And it was insane. It was so incredible to see that entire process.
Yeah, sure. So what was the hardest thing you did, do you think? Or the thing that you would not want to do again?
That's a great question. I think that in Hawaii, I ended up working at a macadamia nut farm. Another incredible experience, and seeing that entire process was super important. Though the hours that I'd worked out, it was very hard, physically demanding, because we ended up doing it you needed to fill 2 bags of nuts by the end of the day, instead of, you're working 3 hours set. But depending on the day, and we were in a season that was already the end of the season, and then a season that was particularly low on good nuts. And so it was hard. It was long. I
might regret it, but what's the distinction between a good nut and a bad nut?
There are so many things. Let me tell you.
Really? There's like a checklist.
Squirrels
okay.
Love them. Squirrels love macadamia nuts. So there's tiny little holes in them, and you think you find a perfect one and you're the only one who's seen it, and then come to find out 5 squirrels have already gotten to it.
So you had to battle squirrels.
Battle them.
It was a constant war between you and the squirrels.
Exactly. Exactly. So I maybe not do that again, but very glad that I did it.
And what's the battle strategy like for real? What do they do to try to keep the squirrels away, or do they not? Or is there nothing they can do?
That was a super interesting conversation to have with the farmer on the macadamia nut farm, and then I was on a cherimoya farm, interesting, awesome farm, but they were part of Woof. Is that all of these places and the blueberries, they're all organic and sort of don't and have some strict protocols in terms of what they're putting, what pesticides, if any, what they're putting on their product. But then these small farms are just, it's so hard. These squirrels, everything, all these animals, it's so hard to get a good harvest from that. But again, it's these people have a fabulous commitment to, making sure what they're putting in their bodies and what they're selling is good and free of pesticides and all the nasty things that are gonna make you grow a second head, or I don't know. Just make us all, I don't know. You definitely know more about this than I do.
I don't know about that.
Totally.
I've never worked on an organic farm, but I just learned about it in the classroom. But so was there a difference I mean, I'm assuming not because it's farming, but based on the different, I mean, they're both in the Pacific Ocean, but was there a difference between the farming process in New Zealand and Hawaii, or was it virtually the same, or was it different based on like macadamia nut, blueberry, and then whatever the other one you said was, which I missed?
Caramoya.
Caramoya, what is that?
It's a mango-esque fruit, super sweet, super delicious, something that would not grow anywhere near Barrington, Rhode Island.
Where was this farm at?
In New Zealand. Caramoya? They're so good.
That. Mangoes are amazing.
So amazing. But yeah, it really depended on who we were working with and what their expectations were of us. Also, we were on the Charamoya farm in their off season, so that looked incredibly different versus going onto the blueberry orchard mid-season at their perfect picking time. And then I do think there is sort of like a cultural expectation. Work in America looks a lot different than New Zealand. I think there was, again, we had to get these 2 full bags. It was very, it was a lot of work. Not that they weren't working us on New Zealand. It just, America, there was no sort of, okay, let's sit, let's chat, let's take a break. It was definitely, let's go. But that was, again, very specific people.
Right.
A very small group that I've been exposed to.
So what did you take away? What do you feel like you left with after having those experiences woofing, in terms of your opinion about food and about clean food and about farming and pesticides and taking care of the environment? What do you feel like you left with?
Yeah, I definitely have more questions, and I realize that I have sort of a lot more to understand about what I'm putting into my body. I think if anything, it's such hard work. And I'm at a point in my life where I feel like I'm feeling very intellectually accomplished, and I get satiated with all the things that I have to do with my schoolwork and jobs and everything. But there was something about the physical work that goes into pushing your body and really going for a whole day, week, month, that I was really proud of myself. I felt strong. I felt accomplished. I felt good about what I was putting into my body because I just picked it up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely something to be said about that. I mean, whether it was like on my gap time, I worked with Habitat for Humanity. So whether it was like spending a week, working on building a home, for somebody, or whether it was even like working at a Chipotle, like making burritos, like after you were on your feet all day and you're providing something for somebody, there's a real sense of pride that comes with that. And I think it gives you at least it gave me a different perspective. And then hearing you talk a little bit about the farming, it gives me a different perspective on what those jobs take out of, out of somebody and what they require. And it gives me a lot more appreciation for the work that goes into that. Sure.
Same. Totally. Absolutely agree. It's amazing.
Now, how early is early? Did you have to wake up?
This
may disqualify people.
Yes. It definitely depended. The couple that I was living with the Charamoyas, they were in their off season. They were very eccentric and popular in their town, and so sometimes they go out on a Friday night, and so then we'd start work at 10. Those were the best days. But then also the blueberry farm, sometimes it was 6, 7 in the morning. You got to get up, but you also don't want to get a sunburn because so it makes sense. Right. Heat the sun. Right. So there's a lot of variables. And then I could get up at 10 for the noon, I don't know, for the macadamia nuts. But if I didn't finish those bags, I couldn't leave. Like, it wouldn't,
Right.
that's not fair. Like, I couldn't go out into the town and see where I was. So just stuck with fighting squirrels.
Wow. 6 or 6, yeah. That's the only thing that would prevent me from ever being a farmer, was like having to get up before the sun.
Oh my goodness.
Start working. I normally go to bed when the sun's coming up.
Exactly. No, yes.
So what were you saying? No, go ahead.
No, nothing. My sleep schedule went from 6 a.m. to now quarantine sleep schedule, which is just definitely not that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling someone I had to get up yesterday I made a call at like 9 a.m. And I was very honest with the person. I was like, look, I have not been up this early since February. So you're going to have to
bear with me, please.
Please bear with me a little bit. So New Zealand, a whole day ahead of where we are, right? In the time zone. What was dealing with that time change? Like, how long did it take you to recover from it?
Well, it was honestly amazing because you can think about it like a day ahead, but you could also think you're in the same day, but just a couple hours different. That might totally not make any sense, but it ended up, after being in Spain and wanting to call my friends and family, and it being morning or middle of the night for them, versus here we were kind of in the same part of the day. Whether or not we were on the same day didn't matter as much for my phone calls, but it was okay. It was not
really okay. I mean, I guess I could see that, because they are literally, I mean, I could be wrong, but they are, like, right now for me it's like 2:43 p.m. So like it's literally that same time for them just tomorrow. Yeah. Correct or no? Or exactly. Almost.
Roughly 18 hours or something, but I'm on the East Coast, so.
Okay, so something like that. So
it was really easy in a great way. I just lost a day.
And so you said you got to drive around New Zealand too while you were there, right?
Yes. The beautiful thing about WOOF is that my only two expenses were my flight there and then this shared car that we'd rented. And that is a huge recommendation that I would make. Definitely, if you're ever traveling New Zealand, do that country by car. It's just the way to go. It's so amazing. And yeah.
Does it have one road that goes all the way around it? Or is it?
Pretty
that's how Iceland is. Like, Iceland has the ring road. So like you start Iceland and the one road takes you all the way around. So I was wondering if New Zealand was the same at all.
I'm so geographically not aware, but okay. It was very easy. It was incredibly, and you just take a ferry to the other side, to the other island, and it was just so easy.
Okay. And who were you, because I think you might have said that you were road tripping with people.
Yeah.
So who were you road tripping with? Was it people you met there or friends who came from somewhere else?
Yeah, it depended. Sometimes we were in the car with people that we met, and we were just going, hey, you're going to this hike, we can fit you in the car. Otherwise, it was mostly the people that I was splitting the expenses with were people also just out of high school and on sort of adult gap years that I'd known from home or from other random programs. We just made this mishmash group.
That's very cool. Very cool. So wait, you just randomly pick people up?
That was, my connection's unstable. Can you hear me?
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, you're here now. Yeah, okay. I could see, for a while your image was frozen, but I could hear you okay. So I just let it be.
No. That was something totally new for me. Hitchhiking across anywhere, but mostly New Zealand. Incredible experience. best way to meet friends.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just culturally, again, it's accepted and it's safe to an extent. And also we did it I didn't have a car in Hawaii, and that was how I got to different places on that island. And again, our car was often in New Zealand pretty jam-packed. So I usually got more rides than I gave, unfortunately. But definitely made a few friends through hitchhiking.
Did you have any really interesting encounters with people?
Through hitchhiking or just
Yeah, through the hitchhiking, or like any interesting like stories that you encountered or words of wisdom?
I mean, definitely let your friends know where you are. We were on a hike and I got tired and I turned around and I was trying to get a ride into town where there was no service. And in hindsight, I realized that is not, I shouldn't have gotten to a car with a stranger with no service when my friends weren't exactly sure where I was, even though we had a conversation about me going into town. But I learned about parasailing in that 30-minute car ride. And I
really like that person parasails?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in New Zealand, especially, there's just such, people are very friendly. And so we'd go to a restaurant. We'd have one night out where we'd splurge and eat at a restaurant. And then our waiter, we made friends with. And then they ended up showing us a beach with their friends. It was really amazing. And a similar thing happened at a Sunday sale, a yard sale. We met this guy and he said, "Hi, I want to show you this crazy rock." And we're like, "Okay, we're safely gonna go with you in our own car." But like, it was really, people are really friendly. And it sounds weirder now telling my American friends that we met all these different people randomly on hikes and things, but
just different culture, just a really nice, nice welcoming group of people.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wonder if it has something to do with the environment that they live in, and that culture, because I felt the same way about Icelandic people or just Nordic people in general, but it just seems like something about it just made them seem like a really nice people.
Yeah, absolutely. People are so much more willing to help you and talk to you, which is something I would like to go back. I would like to go back.
Yeah. Hopefully we can all be traveling again soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
So obviously financial literacy is something that's really important to us over here. Obviously woofing is a really smart way to travel and save a buck, but how did you go about affording like things like flights and money that you had there? Did you have like parental support, or were you working to gain that? How did you come about doing that?
Yes, there I was working a lot. I'm working a lot this summer as well to sort of help with what I did the last couple of months. My parents, again, have been such a big support. They definitely were financially supportive as well. I think it took more planning than a trip I would take normally, but there are ways to work around financial restrictions, whether that's through woofing, through the visa options. It just takes extra time to plan and think through, but I definitely think most of what I did was very financially conscious or efficient. Right. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. So you were working too during your gap time, and you were in between trips and things?
Yes. I primarily am babysitting,
Okay.
which has been great.
Very
But
flexible job too.
yes,
Babysitting.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that was something I did. I was trying to get an internship for this past spring. That fell through very quickly, unfortunately. But prior to all of quarantine, I definitely was going to take the spring to be working as a barista or something that was more practical in terms of making money.
Yeah. Do you think that there is a job or a particular sort of industry that someone just coming out of high school preparing for a gap time might want to go into that would be better for them to be more flexible with money wise and time wise?
I would say if you have sort of a language ability, if you know a second language, oftentimes being an au pair was something I thought about. My Spanish wasn't to the level that I needed it to be that, but it is an awesome way to make some money in a new place and utilize and work on your skill set as a communicator. I know a plan of mine that didn't work and a plan that a lot of my friends chose to do was have an internship in the morning and then work at a coffee shop in the afternoon. And that can happen anywhere in the US. It's pretty flexible as well.
Yeah.
Those are two ones I would recommend, probably.
All right, cool. So when you were asked about the greatest challenge you faced in your gap year, you said, after this year, I learned that there are so many other important ways to accomplish self-growth and be productive that aren't as tangible or obvious. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? And was there a specific experience or set of experiences during your gap year that brought you to that conclusion?
Amazing question. I would say coming out of the high school American path, I had a very traditional sense of what was productive. If I finished an essay, if I went to a practice, if I worked a shift, that felt to me like self-growth, productive. I was doing something to improve myself. I found that anything really outside of academics or athletics or, career money things weren't productive. But then on my gap year, I spent a lot of time exploring a city, sitting in a park and journaling, doing activities that weren't necessarily seen as traditionally productive. But I came out of those days just feeling so sort of self-aware or reflective or calm, emotionally, mentally stable. And I feel like that was so important. And now going forward and going back into a academic setting, I think I'm better prepared to handle challenges and to take risks and to take care of myself. And I think I'm going to make better use of the opportunities given to me because I have more clarity, level-headedness.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers any of your questions.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And it's a really, I'm really happy that you were able to reach those conclusions. And it's a great point to make because, this definition of what we think might be productive, I think that we feel that we're working towards something all the time, but often that thing that we work so hard for so long is often right in front of us the whole time. So like learning how to be present, you know, is just as productive as, you know, working to try and get towards that place where you feel like you can be present, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And it wasn't, I was working this year and I was taking language classes. I was doing those sort of traditionally productive things, but I enjoyed them more. I felt like I was doing them better because of this other side of my self-improvement and self-growth, which was really uncomfortable, but I feel so happy to have.
Right. Yeah. It's not productive if you're not doing it as you.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
And now quarantine, like it's a lot of time to be by yourself and thinking your thoughts and to really reconsider what your plans are. And I feel like without my gap year, it would have looked a lot differently and my spring would have been a lot less productive and a lot less happy. Not that I was always happy, but.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really hope that we can, you know, come out of this time making sure that more people can have those types of experiences.
Totally.
Like that. Because it's needed.
Totally.
It's really needed. So I know it's difficult, but if you had to build a Mount Rushmore, so like your top 4 moments from your gap year, what would they be, do you think?
Love that question. Oh, wow. I think I have this image in my head of last summer running down from Angel's Landing in Zion. We were running out of water. It was super hot, and my friends wanted to run down this steep hike. It's crazy. And I loved it. I felt like out of body. And then we ran into this river and jumped in. It was some of my best high school friends, and we just graduated. So I think that would be up there. I also have this memory of being in Paris on Halloween in a Halloween costume. That is not cool in Paris. That is not.
Wait. Yeah. Just hold on. Well, hold on. Yeah. So, did you go to the catacombs?
No, that is the one. I'm very upset. That I have to go back. That is the one thing we didn't see.
You were there on Halloween.
That was my. I had it in my journal. I said, I'm going to the catacombs. This is happening. It's free from 11 to noon for under 25-year-olds. But it was so busy. Everyone had that idea. But no one thought of dressing up like a cat except for me and
wait. Okay. So so it's not acceptable to dress up.
Not totally. It's so cool there. Come on.
In Paris. Well, debatable. But so what were you doing in costume? But why did you have a costume, and why a cat costume?
Great questions. Do I know all the answers? No, but my friends and we didn't bring costumes, but we made them. I think my whiskers were eyeliner. I think I took cardboard for my the cat ears, not mouse ears. And my friend was Piglet, and I think that was blush for her nose. And when we just went sightseeing, and
what were the reactions of the French people?
They did not know what to think. I didn't know what to think of us. We looked ridiculous, and it was so fun. And I love Halloween, so of course you're gonna celebrate.
Of course, yeah.
Of course, come on.
You know what? How dare Paris? They should have lit the Eiffel Tower. They light it at night anyway. They should have lit it like orange and black. They could do that.
Totally.
It makes you feel better. I missed the catacombs too when I was there. They were actually closed, so.
Heartbreaking. No, I yeah, I mean, again, it's just an incentive to go back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Can't do everything in one shot.
Exactly.
For sure. All right. So the other two, so we had
okay.
that. So what are the other two moments? Zion's beautiful, by the way.
Stunning.
Best national park by far.
By far. Wow. I had just finished a 5-day through hike in New Zealand called the Tongariro Circuit. And I am having a memory of us on the water taxi back from those 5 days, and just this sense of relief knowing that I was about to get a huge cup of coffee and just feeling like I accomplished the craziest thing. Mind you, hundreds of people probably finish a day, but 5 days, me, the woods, hiking, making my own food with some of my best friends. But that water taxi, most satisfying. That's absolutely unbelievable.
Made it all worth it.
Made it all worth it.
Now, what do you mean by making your own food?
Just because we had to make and carry all that we were eating. Because we only had ourselves to rely on.
Right. Did you bring the food beforehand, or were you like, because I'm imagining you're like scavenging for it as you're hiking by the way you said it.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. No, we had, I think I carried like a couple packs of beans, some rice, a pot, and I had like a little stove top. And it was so heavy, which was also part of the water taxi. I had finished all my food after those 5 days, and my bag was light. I felt light. And I was just on this beautiful boat ride, which was 30 minutes, but seeing where the 5 days it took me to get to that spot was funny, but fourth one. Okay. Fourth one. I think it was, in a funny way, arriving in the Boston Logan Airport. In March. Everyone was masked up. It was scary, but there was a Dunkin' in the airport. I think it was 3 a.m. and I Purelled up and grabbed a Dunkin' and grabbed my bag, and the person had the classic East Coast accent, and it reminded me that there are things that I adore about Rhode Island. And my mom was waiting for me with her own mask and wasn't gonna hug me, but love her, and she was waiting for me. Hadn't seen her in upwards of 5 months, and so that was exciting. That was a great day, as scary as it was, and as unanticipated. I really had some highlight moments.
That's a really sweet fourth one that you say, because I think that when you grow up in a place for so long, and it's everybody's objective to just get out of that place.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, at least for me too, when I went out and then came back, I think my hometown's so cool now that I've left it, after like seeing the rest of the world, be like, oh, this is a pretty cool place that I live in.
Yeah. And now I'm finding hikes in Rhode Island. Hikes that we're not known for that. And they're awesome. And I love them. And they're no New Zealand, but they're still stunning. Yeah. Same thing. So I live by the Great Lakes, and no way.
Yes, like right at the southern tip of Lake Michigan. And I've also during quarantine been finding hikes I've never known about, even hikes that are 5 minutes from my house. And it turns out there's like miles worth of trails. They've been there forever. They've been there the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, where have you been? All of my life.
Exactly. No, that is on the bucket list too. for my second gap year that I take sometime. I don't know.
What's on the bucket list?
Oh, I want to see the lakes. I haven't seen
The
any
Great
of them.
Lakes? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty. I mean, yeah, it's amazing, especially when you go to an ocean environment and you go to some places in the Great Lakes and it's really no different. Like you wouldn't really know in some cases.
You're talking to Rhode Island is the ocean state. I don't know. I'm skeptical.
I know who I'm talking to.
Skeptical.
I'm just saying, you go up to Michigan, like in the state of Michigan, it's close. It's close. I've never been to Rhode Island, but I'm betting it's close.
All right. All right. We'll see. Yeah.
So final question for you. So for someone who might be nervous or scared or having, thoughts about taking a gap year, what advice would you give them?
I think I would say don't worry twice. I think I thought that if I was going to take this time, I needed everything planned out. I needed the perfect plan, because when am I ever going to have time to do any of this again? When in fact, I think I'll be doing it for the rest of my life. Yeah. I also, spent a lot of my gap year time concerned about how I was going to fill my spring and what it was going to be like to be on campus on the fall. And I stressed myself out. I, applied to a couple of internships. I, spent some hours seriously in these beautiful places going, what is going to happen? How am I going to handle all of this? When it turns out that shouldn't have been a concern. And I only made myself worried for something that ended up not even mattering.
Yeah.
So it's not easy advice to follow, but definitely don't worry twice, take in the time, and not everything has to be perfect.
Don't worry twice. I love that advice. That's something that I went through too, right beforehand. And then I realized as soon as I stopped, took a breath, I was like, all right, I'm just open to whatever happens. All these opportunities started flowing in. And I think that's the case no matter what part of your life you're in or what you're trying to pursue.
Totally.
So I like that. Don't think twice or don't worry twice. Wrote it down. It's going in the books. Thank you so much for your time, Jillian. It was really great to hear about, all your story and your words of wisdom. Where can people find you if they'd like to?
Oh, they can email me. My email is Jillian Lombardi MB19 at gmail.com. I'm really excited with all that you guys are doing. I would have loved a resource like this going into this year. I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really wish you luck on everything with UPenn and trying to navigate the semester. Please keep in touch. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need anything. And thank you so much for your time. I really hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks. See ya.